Hello everyone, Vanguard of Valor here, and welcome back to another rainy day here in Banished. Now, last time we were here, we started building up some farms, and we've started to trade our valuable resources in exchange for new seeds and whatnot from traders coming into our city. At this point, it's looking like we're having a fairly effective city going on right now, though, as we do have a bunch of nice things. We have a bunch of tools and clothes, we have a bunch of food, a good supply of our various resources, and things are more or less going like we'd hoped they would. If we can continue this pattern, we should be absolutely fine in the days to come. We'll keep going, though, and see what happens as we continue to push our population size and see what happens. We're still low on firewood, as it is still in the early spring, and things are still being used quite quickly, but hopefully we'll be able to keep up with the demand. Over in this end of town... Ooh, traders just arrived. Let's slow down our time here. Over in this end of town, we got ourselves our chapel, which is dealing with our population quite nicely. I believe there's a 200 person cap per chapel, so we may have to build more over here if we need more religious followers. And we also have our graveyard over here, which is gradually filling up now with people who are dying of old age as our civilization has been around for a while. Our town hall was recently built, which gives us all kinds of interesting statistics about our population, about the things that we have, the things that we use and create, and general information. Like here we have 100% of our population is clothed now, whereas it was 98% last time. Also, we only have a 68% education rate, which means there's a lot of untrained adults still. It also tells us things we've acquired through trade, and all kinds of other interesting information. We have our school over here, we got a bunch of other production buildings on this side of town, but let's see what the trader wants, and perhaps we'll be able to get something else good from him. I'm looking for livestock, cherry seeds. Not exactly what we wanted. Also, interestingly enough, he has no value for herbs. Different traders seem to want or not want certain items, and this guy has no interest in herbs, surprisingly enough. I'm not sure if we're really going to buy cherry seeds, though. I think we'll leave those there for now. What I'm looking for still are crops we can plant that don't take trees to grow, and we're looking for livestock, because those are the two things that I'd like to kind of fill our population up with soon. We're also apparently still low on firewood, which doesn't surprise me since we have so many homes which now use it. We've also built a market over here, which stockpiles a lot of our inventory. And if we check over in the barns, people keep moving the items out of there. So they're no longer at maximum capacity all the time. The market helps deal with a lot of that storage issue. Overall, though, we're looking pretty good. One thing we've got to watch out for is we have way too many builders, so we can stick them back into laborer jobs, and they'll be able to help gather us lots more stuff. I believe they do laborer job anyway if there's nothing for them to build, but I'm unsure, so I don't like to mess around with it and give them the opportunities they need. Now, if we put more foresters in, this should give us a more continuous supply of wood, but I'm unsure really if putting more foresters in would do that particularly well, because what the forester's hut does is it cuts down trees when they've reached their maximum size. So once they've reached their full age, it cuts them down and plants new trees. Having more foresters, I doubt would actually increase the rate at which the trees grow. Although if it did, that would be an interesting thing to discover. So if we were to experiment here and see what their log production was, they only produced 60 logs in the entire previous season, which is not really a great rate. But if we were to put more foresters in, I wonder if it would improve. All in all, I'm not sure if I really want to mess around with that because I like having a decent number of laborers to help us gather in resources, but it's still an interesting question. In addition to that, we've built up another little suburb over here, and we're going to keep adding houses in this area for now, so we can hopefully keep growing up our population even further. Now, at the moment, we have a very nice stable food supply, which is crazy, given that we really don't have a whole lot of things that produce food. How did that produce 23 squash? How did that happen? Somebody must have accidentally brought squash here and then brought them back out of the building to get them added to the listings. That must have been how we accidentally produced leather there that one time, or here as well. How do we produce 4 leather here with the fish? I don't understand. It's a mystery to everyone. That's fine, though. So, you can get in really close and look at these people, too, which is pretty neat. You can see everything about the individuals. Their clothing is in decent shape. They've got iron tools. They're educated. All this kind of stuff is pretty neat. Come on, close. There we go. But for the most part, we don't really need that kind of level of detail. What I think we'll do next is we'll cut down all these trees, since we don't really need them for our various tasks, and we do want to start gathering more trees and stone, because one thing we're going to want to build right now, I think, is a brewery, especially since we have access to wheat now. So we're going to stick a brewery. Do you want to rotate it and put it in there? Yeah, why not? We'll stick our brewery, our tavern right down there, right near the center town. Right near our docks as well, so we need to sell it. That'll be easy. And we're probably going to be going to make wheat or berry alcohol. Depending on how well our wheat crops actually grow, we'll have to wait and see. Surprisingly enough, though, there's nobody actually working this field as far as I can tell, which is not exactly what I was hoping for. It is marked to be worked, so I'm not sure what's going on there. The squashes, on the other hand, are growing nicely. It may be the wheat field can only get started later in the year. I'm not entirely sure how a lot of these crops work because I don't have a whole lot of experience with them. Like, we noticed that the squash were very cold resistant, so as the winter started, they didn't immediately wither on the vine like cabbages did. I'm interested in seeing how this all works out once we have a bit more experimentation with it underway. As it stands, though, things are looking pretty solid here for the most part. Now, I like how the leather is like a bear pelt. You got that from a deer, didn't you? It looks like it's from a tiger or something. Yeah, there it goes. Either way, that's fine. People are still cutting down all the trees in here, and our foresters are kindly replanting them. And of course, as the trees grow, they do lay out seeds, which will help them expand again, even beyond those areas, which is how a lot of these trees grow up, I believe. I'm very interested in seeing what happens with this farm, but in order to do that, we need to put our speed back up again, otherwise we're going to be here all day. And it might just be that these people are going to move on to this plot once they're done with this one. That would be a problem. Since we have 8 farmers dedicated to farming, I'd kind of hope for a better haul than that. But we'll see what happens once these guys are done, if they're going to move over and work on this one instead, or if it's a time-based thing, like maybe you can only plant wheat in the summer. I'm not sure. Either way, I don't like how there's only 2 people working our farms right now. No, they're just gone. That's strange. Well, we will get a good number of squash this year, which should be good. Our haul last year was in this field, actually. And we got 1,050 squash out of it. If we can get something similar to that from our wheat and our squash, that'll be a nice addition to our food stores. And we can probably afford to expand our population by another 5 or so houses. At this point, we're probably going to start looking into primarily using farming as our source of supplies, because of the fact... I have no builders again. Because of the fact that we're able to put more food locations into a smaller space. The really nice thing about this little cluster of buildings in the early game is it gives you a really high output of food for what you actually have in it. It gives you the food from the hunters and the gatherers, and it also gives you the renewed forestry and herbs from these buildings, which is great. But it takes a lot of space. It takes about this much space to get that same amount of food. Whereas we can pack in a whole bunch of farms over here and have a similarly effective food space without taking up as much actual space. Surprisingly enough, there's nothing started here in the wheat field yet. I don't like that. We're in early summer already and nobody's come to work this field. Hopefully somebody figures that out. Why are you guys hungry? Just go home. We have plenty of food. We have literally 5,000 food, you silly people. Alright. I'm kind of confused by that. Our trader has left, that's fine. But I am a little bit concerned by the fact that nobody is working this field. Oh, is that... I'm not sure if he's doing anything here, or if he's just gathering squash. He's working the squash field. Why is nobody working this field? Somehow it seems to have forgotten what I told it to work. And whoa, that was weird. I'm not sure if that was me changing the numbers or something, but temporarily stopping that field did weird things to our numbers. Either way, we have a lot of new children being born, which is great. We have a bunch of adults who are basically aging up into being able to do productive work, which is also great. This squash field is looking nice. We should get a good yield from that. But yeah, overall, I'm kind of confused by this. We'll have to experiment further. As it stands, I don't want to mess around with my food too much because it looks like our stored foods are just about stable at the moment. Our construction over here is going well. We should get our tavern soon, then we can set that up. Something else we're going to want to start building soon. Where is it? We might want a hospital over here just to help deal with any medical emergencies if we run into them in the future. But we may start wanting to get mines and quarries if we want to be able to get coal and iron and whatnot more stably. The only problem with these things is that once you use them up to a certain point, they are mined out, and there's nothing else to be got from them. And you can't take them away either. They actually dig into the ground permanently, which is an interesting little feature. At the moment, we don't really need them. We have a pretty good supply just on the map. but it might be an interesting thing to look into later on. For example, there's still tons of stone way out here. Absolute tons of it. And I'm sure we already have this marked for gathering because this is a wonderful place to get our resources. Most of it, yes. There we go. Give people lots of places to keep getting stone from. Lots of places to keep getting iron from. There are lots of resources on this map for easy grabbing. And that's great. I think we've got all the stone over here, though. Yeah, we already did. Perfect. But yeah, lots of things we can go grab with our people to keep our resources high. Those quarries and mines and whatnot are primarily used once you've used up all of your map resources, because they are not super efficient. They take a lot of people to really get a good efficiency out of them, and they leave like a permanent building on your map. The other interesting thing about them is they have to be built in mountains. You can't just build them anywhere you want, at least for mines. Quarries can probably be built anywhere that's not a mountain. I haven't actually built one of those yet to experiment with it. So it's early autumn now. I'm going to come over here and make sure that they are harvesting. Yep, good. They're getting a harvest. That's a big yield. We might get a lot from this, depending if they can actually get it out quickly enough. Now, I'm really worried by the fact that we have 4 people set to work this field, and you only see like 2 at a time. I don't really want to lose my crops. And nobody ever came to work the wheat. Very unusual. Very unusual. I'm not a big fan of that at all. Well, we'll see if they can get all these crops harvested in time, then we'll see exactly what we get from what appears to be an almost 100% yield, which would be really good. But overall, I'm a little bit confused by all this information coming in. Also, why so many people are hungry all the time. Just go get food, you silly people. We have tons of it. It might be the locations of food, like people who are working in other parts of town. Oh, good, our tavern is finished. Perfect. We're going to start having a brewer in the tavern, bring these builders back to laborer jobs. Fantastic. And now that we have our tavern, we have to set what kind of alcohol they're going to make. They make wheat alcohol. Berry alcohol is probably the most reliable we have right now. Since we don't have access to apples, cherries, peaches, pears, or plums, berry alcohol is most likely our safest bet. Now if we come check out our food supplies, the other interesting thing about alcohol is that since it's based off of your food, it does actually, cut into your food. We have lots of berries though. We have over 600 berries in total in storage right now. We get a bunch every year. We should be fine with this in this respect. Ideally though, we want to probably switch over to wheat, because we should be getting about 1,000 wheat every year, and that's a pretty stable amount to be using for these purposes. So far, we've got about 840. Wow, that's a lot of squash from half a field. We might get about almost 2,000 there in a full thing if we can get it quickly enough. The problem is, I'm not sure if we can get it quickly enough. There's still half that field left because people just aren't yielding it quickly enough. We'll see if this year the squash withers in the winter or not. A lot of interesting things to test this time. Lots of interesting things to test that I have very little experience with. I might also start upgrading these homes into stone homes so we don't need as much firewood to keep them warm. And I believe we actually have enough stone to make this feasible now. It does take 40 stone a home though, which is pretty outrageous. Let's come check up on our squash, see if they start withering on the vine. No, it looks like they're okay. Wow, either these farms are broken or squash are an amazing food because they don't wither in the winter. Well, it's not winter yet officially, but still. That's pretty cool. Now normally, in order to prevent this from happening, what I would do is I'd tell them to start harvesting earlier in the year rather than the automatic harvesting start, so they have a chance to actually get everything, because otherwise all this food would be lost. But it turns out squash are amazing. That's really cool. It just doesn't wither. I wonder if there are any other foods that have that quality, because that's pretty useful. Knowing that would be a very useful tool. We've had a couple people die again, but that's fine. That's exactly what this cemetery is here for, to contain the dead eventually. So, I'm not too worried about that. We'll keep gathering wood. We just burned through about 500 firewood, which is crazy. I guess all these houses really could make use of some stone walls to help keep them warmer. We have a lot of food, though, which is really nice. So I think we're going to try and upgrade a couple homes to stone. I'm not sure if this does a whole lot from respect of anything other than heating. Stone homes provide more warmth, is all it says. But we're going to experiment with it. We're going to turn this little block of 6 homes into stone homes. I wonder if people can live in them while they're being turned into stone homes. Doesn't look like it. Interesting. But we're going to set a bunch of these to be upgraded in the winter and see what happens. Oh, yeah, now you're marked as having no home. Okay, so this is actually a concerning thing. We have to be very careful about how we do this. Let's reclaim that building. Otherwise, we're removing people's homes in the middle of the winter, which is not a good time to do it. People have to have somewhere nice and warm to go. We'll do that in the summer again. We do have a trader, though, so let's see what he wants. Ooh, lots of interesting things. More squash seeds, plums, mushrooms, firewood. We're out of wood, so firewood might not be a bad choice, but I'm pretty sure our homes have plenty. But we already have squash seeds, so buying more of them doesn't provide us with anything, because once you can get them 1 year, you never need to buy them again. And he has 2 counts of cherry seeds, but we don't need those either. Well, I might... Yeah, buying... Oh, well, it's a custom order. Right, you can order specific things, but when they arrive, they're more expensive. I haven't done much of this ever, because, in my opinion, you might as well just wait till the thing you want actually arrives. And interestingly enough, I don't think you can actually order live animals to be brought in. You can order animal meat, but not the animals themselves, whereas you can order the seeds. Strange little finicky bit of that whole thing. Either way, we'll leave this for now. We're going to leave our same arrangement here of squash and wheat and see if they actually will deal with the wheat this year. And we checked, we got 1,284. Not as much as I'd hoped, but that's still a pretty good amount. It's better than last year. Very nice. Alright. Alright, let's do a couple quick other checks. Wow, 2,000 fish that season. What about other fishing docks? Are you getting that much? No. Okay, so it looks like this fishing dock is definitely about half as effective as this one, given that it has about half of the water access. So that appears to be accurate then. My guess previously that having more water nearby would increase the number of fish you get actually is true. Which is very unusual. I didn't really expect that to be the case. Huh. Let's upgrade some more houses. But yeah, that's very strange. So I guess that means that these promontories are the best places to actually build your fishing huts. Like over here would be another decent one, over here would be another decent one. Building them on the rivers, though, is just nowhere near as productive. Huh. One thing I may want to build soon is another kind of housing. We can build a boarding house, which means that if people are getting their houses renovated like this, they have somewhere to go. This is a really big building. I'm not sure where I'd want to build it. Maybe over here? Does it fit right there? It does. Okay. Maybe we can build our boarding house over here, and that might actually be a decent place for it. Right near all of the town hall, and the church, and the cemetery, and the schools. So we have all our vagrants living near all of our children. Nothing could possibly go wrong if we do that, right? Nah. We'll build a boarding house over here. Now, the reason I'm building them apart from the main buildings is because I don't feel it really fits in with our, production aesthetic, or really in with our like downtown area or our farming area. So for now, we'll leave it. Ooh, we have some people working the wheat this year. That's a weird animation for growing wheat. I wonder if it gets tall. We'll have to wait and see. But this year, they're not working the squash fields. You people are strange. I don't understand what you're doing. Why aren't you working the squash field this year? I don't get it. There's 8 of you. Why are only 3 people working? I don't understand. Either way, we're going to leave it as that for now. Hopefully these homes will get upgraded quickly. We have 8 builder potential. Ooh, boy. Let's put up to 8 builders then and get that work done. Since we're now also trying to build ourselves boarding houses, that'll take up a lot of other resources as well. Mostly logs and stone, and just a lot of worker time. I'm a little bit concerned about leaving these people without homes, though. I'm not sure if exposure to the elements will really do much to them. They can drop into other people's homes temporarily to warm up and such, but we'll see how this works out. I may have wanted to finish the boarding house earlier. Oh yeah, they are growing up. That's cool. The wheat is growing. I have a feeling wheat will absolutely wither on the vine if we let it grow for too long. So that'll be something we have to keep an eye on, but overall I'm not super worried. I just want people to finish these construction jobs. Oddly enough, we can't see the status of the Oh, it's being removed. Is it being removed? Like, do they take the older building away? Or do they just swap it for the new one? I don't know. Huh. Strange. Let's compare the prices of these things. This is some experimentation here. It costs 24 wood, 40 stone, and 10 iron to upgrade to a stone house. It is exactly the same price. So we are literally demolishing the old building and putting a new one in its place. I was under the impression previously that that upgrade cost removed the cost of building the wooden house in the first place, but that's not true. This is just a button that lets you switch them even when there's already a building there. That's interesting. Flamingo. Poor Flamingo. Flamingo and Consuela. A family of awkward names. But yeah, that's an interesting thing to learn about. Okay. So if we actually try and upgrade these buildings, we are literally just flat out replacing them. The logs have been added in there, but the thing I don't like about it is there's no way to tell what the process is on it. I'm not a big fan of that. I like to be able to see how people are actually working on a subject, and that is a pretty interesting looking field. Huh. If we leave it until late summer before we hit harvest, we should be able to get a good amount of that out of it. I am a little bit concerned, though, about the whole fact that they only keep working one farm every year, and there's never all 8 people out working here. If we have 8 farmers, you'd think there'd be 8 people working the farm, but maybe it's just because they alternate in getting food and whatnot, which wouldn't surprise me either, but it seems very unusual that we get such a inconsistent number of people working, and the fact that they only work one farm. Madelindy. That's an awkward name. Madeline and Lindy. Lots of children coming in, though, so our population's growing well. Our food is able to handle it quite nicely as well, so I'm not too worried about that. I might build a couple more homes over here, but if we're upgrading to stone, I might just try and build some straight out of stone so we don't have to do this whole really slow and irritating upgrade process. They're still prioritizing this boarding house, which doesn't really surprise me. This is actually a really good thing to build before we start trying to upgrade the homes, because that way our people have somewhere to go in the interim. And I believe the boarding house has a massive, massive capacity, so we can deal with a lot of people there. The problem is, though, as well, I want them to finish that before winter happens, so I think I'm going to prioritize these houses. Slow down our speed here a little bit. And we're going to prioritize these houses to be finished, because if they're not finished by the time the winter comes, then our people could be in a bit of trouble. Now, unfortunately, the boarding house is just in the build stage, which is the fastest stage, but whatever. I want to see what happens when we can build this thing. So I will leave those to be built, and we'll move on here. Back into the simulation. Now, I think we're going to start harvesting the wheat right now. It's almost August, so we're going to get a head start on the harvest, because otherwise we're not going to be able to get it all. And we'll see how much we actually get from this harvest. We have a lot of people harvesting, which is good. We need more working, though, otherwise we're going to lose some of the crop. And the nice thing is, even if you start harvesting, the crops that were planted last will keep growing. So while these ones over here aren't as tall as the ones near the front, they will keep growing by the time they actually get harvested, and we should get a pretty close to 100% yield rate either way. Why'd you leave that one there? Weird. I am very confused by how these farms work, though. They don't seem to do what I expect them to. We'll see, though, I guess, over time. Early autumn has hit, and they're going to start harvesting more and more of this wheat. They are, of course, going to have problems, like I suspected, with running out of, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know. Running out of time and having the wheat wither on the vine, or rather, on the stalk, I guess, in this case. But we're going to get as much of it as we can, and hopefully starting the harvest a little bit earlier should make it a bit easier for us to do. In the meantime, we're keeping an eye on our homes here, because if we get to winter and these guys don't actually get them built, we'll be in trouble. They are bringing stone around, it looks like. Hard to tell, though, really. Oh, game paused itself. That's weird. Why'd that happen? I don't know. I've never seen that happen before. That's really weird. That's really weird. Whatever. Hopefully people finish building that house. They're still building this one. That's weird. Even though I prioritized the other houses to be finished, they're still constructing this. This has gotten 67 more stages of building done since last time we checked. Very strange. Potato seeds! Alright, let's buy some potato seeds. We're going to sell them food, I think, for potato seeds, because we have lots of it. We're going to bring over more venison, because we have lots of it, and it sells really well. So we need 2,500. We're going to bring over 750 venison. There we go. We'll boost up our number of people working at the trading post temporarily. There we go. Up to 4, so we can bring that over quicker. And we'll be able to use our venison to buy what we need. Once it gets here, anyway. Venison is a great trade item because it has a value of 3 for each unit, like we discovered last time, and it only costs us 1 food unit either way, so it's pretty good for both of those purposes. Now, let's see if we can actually get the food over here fast enough to trade it with this guy before he leaves. People look like they're a little bit busy not bringing things. Maybe it's because we don't have a whole lot of traders. Oh, we have 250 now. He doesn't want it. Oh. He's not going to let us trade venison. That's unfortunate. We don't have a whole lot of other stuff we can afford to exchange. Now, if we brought over more coats, we could potentially do it. 40 gives us 600. And no, even with all of our coats, I don't think that would be enough. And I wouldn't be comfortable giving away all of our coats. It looks like we're just going to not be able to trade with this guy. Oh, hang on. Slow down the simulation. Let's see if our wheat withers. Close this all back to 0. Done. Look. Does the wheat wither on the vine? No. Now I'm confused. Now I'm very much confused. Because crops definitely wither. Oh no, they're withering. They're just not withering very fast because we're on 1 times speed. You can see some of them are getting shorter as we go here. So if I speed it back up again, they will, yeah, they wither pretty quick. So we do lose some of the crop. That's fair enough. That's partially a problem related to my making the farm so big, I suspect. If I made them smaller, we wouldn't have lost that because we wouldn't have planted it in the first place. So it may be a good idea to resize these fields later on. Make them down to like a 10 by 10 or something so we don't lose quite as much every year. But overall, I'm just a little bit concerned. We might want to try boosting up the number of people who can work at a location like this. That might be a good idea. But for now, I'm going to slow this down again and do a couple of little quick changes here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to swap this over to squash instead, and switch this over to wheat instead. That should, in theory, mean that we alternate which grows where, and I want to see if they actually do both, because they should be doing both. I have no idea why they aren't, but they definitely should be doing both. It looks like they've actually finished the boarding house before even starting the other home, so I'm guessing those upgrades are not high priority tasks, even if you tell them to prioritize them. They just don't care. There's a lot of space in the boarding house for people who need a temporary home, so that should be okay for getting people through the winter and whatnot if our upgrades go through a bad time. Overall, though, I'm just kind of confused about what's going on with these things. I've never tried this before, but it's definitely not acting in a way that I would expect it to. For now, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. He's really not interested in our venison, which is too bad because this is a really good trade item. I would love potato seeds, too. So maybe we can try and get them another way, but I really don't think that's an easy option. He doesn't seem to want food at all, which is going to make trading him anything that we actually have a surplus of quite difficult. He doesn't want herbs either, and we have a large number of them as well. All he really wants, it seems, are coats and tools, and we don't have any of those to really give. So for now, we're going to have to hold on to them, I think, and just wait until we see him again, which is too bad because it would have been really convenient if we could have traded with him there. So we're going to drop the number of traders back down to 1 again. And we're, speed back up time again. So, I'm interested in seeing if these guys are actually going to come do this job or not. Because we told them they need to. The builders should know they have to come build it, but I haven't seen anybody running over here with supplies. People seem to be more or less ignoring those buildings. And our firewood stores are low, but that's to be expected. I believe we're running out of places to get firewood from, so we're going to have to set some more of that. We have lots of stone now. A good amount of iron as well. People seem to be getting a lot of stone since we prioritized that a little while ago. Overall, though, I'm confused as to why nobody is trying to build this. I guess I'll have to wait and see later. Not super fond of that, though, either way. Alright, so we're going to have our farm experiment again next year, although I might just desize them now. Let's do that. Let's slow down here. We're going to remove these buildings and place new ones. It doesn't actually cost us anything to put them in place here, so this should be pretty straightforward. Bang, they're gone. And I know you have no jobs now, but that's fine, because I'm about to put some new orchards in, new crop fields, rather. I'm going to make these ones 10 by 10 instead of 12 by 12, so they're not maximum size, or even close to, because you can go up to 15 by 15 if you're insane. But we're going to try just 10 by 10 and see if that works better for us. 10 by 10, and 10 by 10. I think we can even fit another 10 by 10 in over here. Yeah, that's good. We can fit in 3 in the same space now. Alright, now, close this. Nope. Nope. Go away. There we go. Set this to be squash. Set this to be wheat. We won't get the same high yield if we can get everything without it withering, but we should... Why is there nobody working here? And why is there only 2 people now? What's going on with our workers? There's some weird things happening with these farms. I think we're going to bump these both up to having 3 workers each and go for a total of 6. But overall, these farms are doing weird things, and I'm not entirely sure why. We'll have to experiment with that later. This is my first experiment with building more than one farm, too, so if there are weird things like this, I haven't experienced them very much. Overall, though, it's just very strange. Alright, well, I'm going to quickly check the time on this video. Things have been going weird so far, but we're going to have to see what's up. We haven't changed our village hardly at all. We've added in a tavern, which is producing some alcohol for us, so we can check and see how much they've actually produced. They produced 24 ale, 47 in the current season. People just keep drinking it. Which is fair enough, I suppose. We built ourselves a boarding house, and we started to try and upgrade our houses to stone. But mostly, I'm interested in experimenting with these farms, because very strange things are happening here. Either way, thank you very much for watching, everyone. This has been Vanguard of Valor. I am going to just straight up end this episode here, I think. I should check the time, but whatever. Either way, I look forward to seeing you guys again next time, and until then, bye-bye.